I did update, it was like last night, but I did update our YouTube playlist. So you can go back and watch any of these webinars if you want to do that. Thank you for that reminder. All right, so creating Google Slides, pretty simple. You can do slides.new and you can start a new Google Slides. On this particular slide, there is a video one of my colleagues made on Google Slides. And so I am just going to kind of look at my iPad and follow this list as I create a slide for us. Let me close this out. All right, so now the way I have my tools set up here, it's hiding my chat box. So let me try and move that up at the top. There we go. All right, so in Google Slides, I mean, every time you open a Google tool, it's all gonna look so familiar. You have just some basic themes to choose from over here on the side. And this is not a part of your level 1 training, but if you do not know about a couple of really cool sites, I want to share 2 sites that I think are amazing with you. One is called Slides Mania, and the other one is called Slides Carnival, and both of them are with slides. All right, so first, Slides Mania has an amazing array of resources for you, and you can even go up to education and kind of sort through all of these cool templates for Google Slides. Look at this digital board game, a challenge board, menus, there's something Lego related. Like, these are the coolest, and I am a big fan of don't reinvent the wheel. So let's say that you are loving this choice board. Look how cute that is. You go down and notice this is replace the Bitmoji for your own. They have a video explaining how to do that, but I keep scrolling, and down here at the bottom, I can download it as a PowerPoint or Google Slides. So if you're a PowerPoint fan, you can access a PowerPoint template or a Google Slides theme. If you want to see everything, you can just kind of click through and look at how cute this is. Now, I taught high school, but even high school kids like something that is cool like this. So this is like 9 slides worth. So if I choose that theme, I just click Get Google Slides Theme. It will open it up and it says, do I want to use this template? And I click yes, I want to use the template. And it automatically opens it. This is now in my Google Drive and ready to go. The tip I would give you is I would go in and I would change the name to this one and call it like Master. And I would make a copy of the presentation so that when I want to use it again, I go to the master and make a copy. I don't have to go to Slides Mania and search for it every time. But how very cool and cute is this little Bitmoji girl? And you can go in there and you can replace or hyperlink or whatever, and somebody has done so much work for you. So that one is from Slides Mania. Slides Carnival, very similar. They have lots of really cool ideas, and you can do it by like topic or style. If I just choose educational. Jeopardy, I love it. A Jeopardy game. There's dinosaurs. There's something under the sea. Just tons of, now you'll have to like be careful and avoid the ads that are on here. But if you choose, like this is one that I have used before that I really like, I can go down and preview it. And so I can just kind of click through it, sorry, and see all of the different slide options. And with this, you just duplicate certain slides that you like, delete the ones you don't like, and you just click use as a Google Slides theme. And that is Slides Carnival and Slides Mania. So just think about a fair. You have the Mania and the Carnival. So if you don't like these basic themes, you can get your own from somewhere else. Or you can change to one of these themes. Now, I always bring this up. There's a difference in a theme and a background when it comes to slides. If I change the theme, I change the theme for every slide moving forward. It will all look the same. When I click this theme, they all look the same. If I change background to a color, it only changes the slide that I have selected. So there's a difference in the background and the theme. So you can change the background to a color. You can change it to an image. You can do image search, whatever. Told you my favorite image search is usually a tiger. I don't know why, but it is. So I'm gonna just double click that one and choose it. And boom, it only affects the one particular slide. Now, the reason why I would want to use an image in a background is that you can't click and move that image at all. And so the background changing is really one of those tricks that you see a lot of teachers using when they want their students to manipulate and add things to a slide, is that they have a background that dictates where the students put things, and the background cannot be manipulated. So anyway, that is the difference in background versus themes. I'm gonna go ahead and close out this themes box there. So most of you that have been using slides probably are familiar with all of these things, but I'm going to just go in and play around with it. So I've got this title, you can slides, can add my subtitle here too. Let's go. And I'm ready to use my next slide. Now, keep in mind, if I don't like this layout, this little drop down here allows me to choose the layout of the slide before I add a new slide. So if I wanted my layout to have like the 2 columns, I use that one a lot. I can add that kind of slide, or I can just hit the plus sign. And whatever the last layout was that I used, when I just hit the plus sign, it's going to duplicate that same layout. So if I don't like the layout on this particular slide, I can right click and I get all of these options, including apply layout, so I can apply a different kind of layout to that slide. So you can either choose your layout when you add the slide right here, or you can right click on a slide and change your layout. Notice you also can change theme, background, a lot of these things right here with a simple right click. And then you can add new slides, duplicate or skip slides with that right click as well. All right, so if I'm going to insert my text, I can do it with a text box that already exists, or I can insert a text box. So if I want to insert a text box, I just say insert text box. It'll give me a crosshair, and I can insert a text box here. Once I have that box, then I have a lot more freedom of where to put that. So it won't necessarily fit in that layout. It can be anywhere that I want it to be. All right, so I'm going to try to be mindful of the chat, because I do know that many of you are using Google Slides every day. So feel free to unmute your mic if I get to rambling and give any kind of tips that you want to give. I noticed that somebody said they learned how to put the PDF as a background so students can answer using a text box. That is probably one of the biggest requests that I had when it came to remote learning was, can I take a worksheet or something that I have already and make it fillable. And that is one trick, and it's kind of like its own workshop. But yes, you can take a PDF and essentially turn it into a background of your slideshow. And then you have to insert text boxes where students can answer. I will say this, if you go back to our ATM page and you look at that webinar that Brooke did on Google's master slides, that is phenomenal, and it teaches something very similar to that. And like I said, there were a lot of underutilized tools that she showed in that. I thought it was really, really clever. So I'm gonna, just like I did yesterday, I'm gonna kind of go through the toolbar so I don't miss anything. Starting first at File, all of this is gonna look very similar. I already mentioned make a copy a little while ago with our templates. You can make a copy of the entire presentation or selected slides. So I do think this is interesting. If you found a slideshow on a particular topic and you have permission to reuse it, you could just grab a few slides, selected slides, and make a copy and kind of create your own presentation with just those slides. You can download, and I want to bring your attention to all of the different download capabilities. I can download a slideshow from Google Slides and import it into PowerPoint. This is Open Office. You can make it a PDF. If you ever seen slideshows that people shared that were like a scrollable PDF, this is one way if you want to share your slides with people, but you don't want it to be such a huge file. This is a great way to share, and your links will still be active in the PDF. So that's a benefit to this. I want to share my information with you. I don't want you copying my slides, but I want you to have access to all the links. I can package as a PDF. I can attach it to an email, and it is much easier for people to utilize. Whoops, sorry, I was reading something in the chat, and Amber has been super creative with her template. Looks like her whiteboard at school. I love that. Other ways you can download it is plain text. It's not going to be pretty, but you can. These are the other things that I use a lot, is download as an image. Unfortunately, you can only download the current slide. That is different when it comes to PowerPoint. And so if this is something you're going to use a lot, my trick that I tell people is make your whole presentation filled with all of these images that are backgrounds that you want your students to utilize, and then download it and put it into PowerPoint. And then PowerPoint will actually let you download it as, like, if it were 20 slides in there, it would be 20 images in a folder. The difference is in Google Slides, when I download it as an image, I only get the current slide. So it's a lot of downloading. But that would make a lot more sense when you're looking at creating a background that you can have your students manipulate things on top of. So I do a lot of downloading the slide as an image. Another trick here is that, for example, I am in charge of the ATM website, and a lot of times I'll download a slide as an image and then put it into the website. So any place that utilizes an image, you can grab sections of your slideshow here. Version history, same kind of thing with all of the others. You can go back, you can see where something has been changed or added. I actually utilized this last night because we were talking about the new testing site. And so the conversation about the old testing site versus the new testing site for Google Level 1. And just as a reminder, we believe they're going to extend the use of the old testing site beyond July 1st, but I don't know if I would take that chance. And so if you look back at our test slide, I have added a second link. You have the link to ProctorU, which is the new test site, but I also have the link to Criterion, which is the web assessor page. And so I would encourage you to use the old test site until it is no longer valid, because we know they have worked the kinks out there. So I went into version history, found my old version of this slideshow, and grabbed the link to the old site because I had updated it trying to be smart. So anyway, I did that. And the other things here are going to look very familiar to you. Edit, same old, same old. So we want to go through that. View, present is the view that is going to provide you with all the accessibility. A lot of times when I am sharing a presentation with people and they have it in the mode you're looking at now with all the thumbnails on the side, they'll say, I'm clicking and it's not working. It's because it's really meant to be clicked in present mode. So when I have something in present mode, everything is clickable. If I have it in this mode, it may take 2 clicks to get that hyperlink to work. Motion, that is going to allow you to add some transitions and animations to your slide. And so you can access that other places as well, but it is in view. Master slide, this is really what Brooke's webinar was about. If you have not ever looked at the master slide, it's very interesting. So if I go to view master, it's going to show me this theme that I have currently loaded, what the master of all of the different layouts would look like. And the beauty of using the master slide, and this is not really on the level 1, but I did want to address this, is that if I change this font on this master slide and I close it, it changes that font throughout the entire presentation. So rather than going in and changing the font each time, you can go to View Master and change that font one time, size, font, everything, and then it will go throughout the rest of your slideshow. That's super handy. But like I said, Brooke shows you many more tricks with that. You've got your zoom here, your ruler. I actually like the ruler across the top. Guides, snap to, these are all things as you're kind of designing that slide if you want it to look a certain way, things that you might use. And where I left off was on insert. So when it comes to inserting things on your slide, that insert's going to look very similar to docs. We already looked at inserting a text box. Inserting an image looks just like docs. I can upload from my computer. I can search the web. I can go into Drive, Photos, URL. I love the camera feature. I didn't mention this yesterday, but if you say insert a picture by camera, this is a really cute way for you to have your students introduce themselves, is have them take a picture and insert that picture into their slide. And so you could do kind of a collaborative slideshow and have each of your students take a selfie and put that into the slide. I'm going to get rid of that. But you can insert using a camera, and I do think that that is a really neat feature. But same kind of thing, when you are inserting, you can search the web for that picture, and you can insert it just like you could in docs. Once you insert that picture, you have the ability to resize it, move it all around, and do what you want to with that picture. Insert audio is another feature. Now, you can use audio that you currently have saved in your drive, or that someone has, or that someone shared with you. Okay, so let's see. Let's put in, let's see if this one will work. There we go. So I can decide, do I want it to start playing on click automatically? So I'm going to say automatically. How loud do I want this to be? Do I want to loop the audio in case it's a really short? And then they have all of these different adjustments. So I'm going to go to present mode. Oh, we'll dance party with your slide. Unfortunately, it does not carry throughout your presentation. It's just for the one slide. So if you were looking for a way to have that music on every slide, unfortunately, this just does it per slide, but a really cool trick to add audio to your slides. And if you couldn't hear my audio just then, I was just foolishly dancing to nothing, but it was Apache, which is a fun song. All right, audio, video. I'm pretty confident you're going to have the opportunity to insert a video into several of these tools when you are in the exam. You can search, you can use by URL, or you can choose a video that is currently in your Google Drive. And once your different videos load, then you can grab one of those and put it in there. Here we go. So I can put that video in there, and notice that I can choose when I want the video to play. So I can actually look through the video. Brandy Caldwell of Alabama Technology. And go, yeah, I really want it to start about right here. And so that's at like 1 minute. So I can tell it I want it to start at 1 minute. And I want to end it at 4:18. Or I could use the current time, so whatever I ended at. And so when I've got this, like I like it, and I'm ready to present, my video is embedded. Now I'm going to choose a grid type. And it starts right where I want it to start rather than being the whole video. So let's say you found a video on YouTube, but you really only needed your students to watch a certain section of it. Maybe it is a clip from a movie that is wonderful. Like I love Dead Poet Society. I used to use clips of that in my classroom. Well, here I could cut out all the bad words and just show a clip that deals with the "Oh Captain, My Captain" poem. So I think that is a really unique thing that you can do when you're adding that video, is that you can kind of clip the video where you want the students to see it. All right, so that is insert a video. You can insert a shape. I'm gonna go to a clean slide. This is something you see a lot of on people's different slide templates that they create. They add a shape like a rectangle. And then up here, you can use your paint bucket and you can fill that with a particular color or even a gradient to make it look a little fancy. And then anytime you have a shape like this, if you double click in that shape, it automatically lets you put text in it. So here I can put text, and I don't need a text box. And for that particular text, I can go up here and manipulate it and increase that, add a different font, whatever I want to do. So with insert shape, I think that that is really clever. You can utilize your arrows, your call outs. These are your little speech bubbles, and then some math symbols as well. You can insert a table. Another way to make a slide organized and useful is to insert a table. This is how I put the table of contents in our slideshow. Is I went in and I inserted a table, and I said it's going to be this many columns, this many rows, and then I added my information to each of those. And all I did, just like in Docs, we hyperlink. So I'm able to hyperlink stuff within these slides. Now, the unique thing about hyperlinking in a slideshow is that you click that hyperlink and you have the option slides in this presentation. That is how I was able to do a table of contents. I went and said, okay, I want this to go to slide 1 and apply. So now when I'm presenting and I click on that, it takes me back to the slide that I've told it. A lot of people will not just use a table with a word, they will also use a table and insert a shape like, let's see, is there a, we'll just use a smile. I'm gonna put a smile right there. And that smile is going to be, well, it needs to be yellow, of course. And I can hyperlink that as well. So I'm going to hyperlink that to the last slide in the presentation. So now I have an image that I can hyperlink, or I can hyperlink a word. And so that's just with using the insert shapes, but any picture, any image that you put in there, you can hyperlink. Chart, same kind of thing. And notice we have a chart from Sheets. So let's say that we went out and we collected a bunch of data through a survey with our school, and we have a great chart that we want to share in a presentation in our faculty meeting. Notice I can say from Sheets, and I can go and find the spreadsheet that has the chart in it, and it will grab that chart and put it into my slideshow. And so let's see, it looks like that one has this chart in it, and boom, I can just grab that and put it in there. And it's linked back to the source that it came from. So if I then wanted to pull up the spreadsheet, it's linked to that chart that I've added. Diagram, this is super helpful, and they have so many options here. As a former English teacher, I could totally see using the timeline option. And, oh, and that looks really bad with the other chart there, so let me get rid of that. So here, I can go in and I can add timeline data. Or I can make a slide that has a timeline like this, and I can assign it to my students. And I can say, this specific timeline you're responsible for, and they can add the information. So lots of different options of the look of the timelines. And if you didn't want that, look at all of these other, these are higher order skill sets for students, is asking them to make connections. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It is all right here. You add it to the slide, and then your students can go in and they can fill in that information. Wordart. Now, I don't use this one a lot, but I know a lot of people that love the Wordart feature. And so I can just type in my name, and there it is. And so I can change the font of that Wordart. What is significant about it is it lets me do some fun things with the outline. Like, there have been a lot of times when I thought, man, I wish that text was outlined. And so I can outline that text and make it a much thicker line just simply by choosing my outline color, which is that pencil, and then going here and choosing the width of that line. So that's what makes it sort of word art, is that it allows you to have a thicker, colorful text with an outline. And that's not really an option just on basic fonts. Insert animation. This is going to open up that motion box, which allows me to dictate transitions between my slides. And also, if I am animating the items on my slideshow. Okay, so object animations, if I have it selected, which means I have all the little squares around it, that is the object that is here. And if I click that drop down, it lets me dictate how that item arrives and exits my slide. So fade in, they usually start with the least intrusive and go to the most intrusive. So I can say I want it to fly in from the left. On my click, I want it to be medium speed. And I can continue to add animations. But if I want to test it out, I click play. And it's supposed to do on click. So I click the slide and it flies in. If that's not fast enough, I can change that. And then I either click anywhere on the slide or click the stop button, and that preview stops for me. So that's our slide animations. And then slide transition, since we're here, is that I can choose what I want this slide to do. So if I want this slide to fade, and I can choose if it's just this slide it's going to happen to, or apply to all slides. Okay, so I'm going to start right here from the beginning, going to present, and I'm clicking through my slides. Now they're all fading with that transition that I dictated. Now here, when I click, I have that fly in, and I click again, and it ended my slideshow. So this motion area can be found at Insert, Animation, but then also remember when I clicked here, right click, Transition opens that same square. So whether you choose Transition or Animation, either one. All right, I can insert a line. I use this a lot with the arrow feature. There's also this scribble feature, and I'm horrible with a trackpad, but I do have the ability to kind of scribble and grab something. So if I wanted to, I could do that and draw on my slide, even though I'm terrible with that. I do know some people that have little Wacom tablets, and they utilize that feature, so it might be something that you can do. And underline, you have arrows and other options as well. You have that comment feature just like you have in all of them, so you can use this for feedback to the students. And then other collaborators can see your comments. And then new slide, slide numbers. This is really cool. I'm going to say slide numbers are on and apply, and it puts a little number on the bottom corner of your slide. So that is really helpful, like page references. So you get to have a big slide show like the one we're working on, and you could have kind of slide numbers, and that would help people find the slide. So I really like that. All right, we've talked a little bit about the inserting, linking text, changing the background, putting in a video, adding comments. I'm going to go through a couple more of these things and then see if you've got any questions. So in format, if I have something selected, it allows me to go in and do some of these specific formatting things. We've worked with them before. Notice that I can align everything in a much more specific way on slides because it is a presentation. Inline spacing, this is something that I didn't mention in docs, but you can dictate the line spacing. So if you have a lot of text on your slide, you can space it out or squeeze it in a little bit if you need to. Bullets and numbering, when you are adding a bulleted list, you do have some bullet features that you can change to, like arrows or diamonds or boxes instead of the regular bullets. And then you have other borders and lines and formatting options. You open that up and it's going to dictate even more. I'm going to close that out. All right, when you click on slide, this is going to give you a lot of the things we've seen in other locations. Add a slide, duplicate a slide, skip a slide, change the background layout. You know, all of these we've seen in other locations as well. Arrange, if you are adding multiple pictures, and this is going to be helpful. So let's say I insert an image. So I'm going to add a tiger on here. Maybe eventually, there we go. And then I'm also going to insert another image. Well, so I'm going to insert this stack of books. And I do want them to be on there at the same time, but I want the books to be in the back. That is where that arrange comes into effect. And I'm going to say send backward. That takes it back one layer. If I had said send to back, that's going to send it even behind that other box. So if you do have images that you want them layered, you will need to use that arrange feature. You also have that option to rotate. So if you did want to flip something, this is a lot of times if you're adding your Bitmoji or adding something here and you want it to face the other way, you can flip something horizontally. It's not as noticeable with the books. But if I flip the tiger around, now he's looking the other way. So that's just a helpful tip when you are adding your images. Tools, spell check, underline errors, personal dictionary. All these are helpful because we don't want to make a presentation where we make mistakes. Explore, same explore option that you have in the other, but this one lets you actually make some suggestions for layout typically. So if I did want, so it takes you to this help, and it talks about that you can, go through all of these ideas on suggested layouts and presentations, but basically it's used for a search. So just like I said with docs, you can tell your students that if I want to look up something on tigers, when I open the Explore tool, I can access the web, images, and Drive all right there. All right. Okay. So I am going to take about a 2-minute break because my kids are here by themselves and somebody rang the doorbell and they're kind of freaking out. So hold that thought and I will be right back. Okay. All right, webinar life. When somebody delivers a package to your house and your 10-year-old's freaking out, somebody rang the doorbell, and no other parents here. You just have to take a moment from the meeting. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see. Some other things on here, voice type speaker notes. Now, I love the voice typing feature, but unfortunately, you can't just voice type your entire presentation. When you do voice typing, it is only going to be in the speaker notes. So if you did want to kind of voice type your notes down there, you could, but they are not going to be for this. One little trick is if you wanted to voice type some stuff down there, you could then copy and paste it into your slide if you needed to do that. Add-ons. I'm a huge fan of some of the Google Slides add-ons. Some of them are here. There are many more add-ons that are probably useful, and some maybe some that you use. If you're a fan of using Nearpod or Pear Deck, they have add-ons that allow your slides to work more seamlessly with that. There's a few that I have from here. But they're just, look and see if there's one that's helpful to you. Does anybody want to put in the chat or unmute your mic and tell me if there's any add-ons that you're currently loving with slides? All right, so I think we have covered a lot of things on slides. One thing I want to talk about is sharing. Like I told you, this sort of new look for the sharing window has thrown me for a loop a little bit. It's by default restricted. And so I always have to remember to change that. So on the using the link, you can share this just like you share with anything else. If you're sharing with specific people, you can do the share with their email. The other thing that is really unique on this is that you can share a certain slide with a person. And typically I would do that with the comments. So I can do at Courtney, and I could assign this particular slide to Courtney. So if you are doing a collaborative slide presentation with your students, then you can assign that slide or assign a section or something on that slide to a student. So I do think that that's a really unique feature. All right, so I mentioned to you guys that I had been using an extension called Links a lot, which has been super accurate in allowing me to choose one of these, like force copy. But I think that because by default, I needed to go in and change that sharing option, that kind of threw me for a loop. But one way that you can do this that should work, once you've changed that restricted to anyone with the link, you can use, it's called Links a lot, and you can use this to choose a force copy, and it's going to change the URL. Now, if you don't have that extension, you can also force the people to copy by manipulating or hacking the URL. And so when you click on the URL and you sort of scroll to the very end of it, where it says edit, you would change it to say copy. Okay, and now that it says that, I'm going to copy that entire URL. And once I try that URL, it does the force copy trick. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm, what they say, hacking that URL and changing it from where it typically said edit to use the word copy. And that changes that URL to force a copy. So when I share that URL, it's going to force a copy instead of them using my editable copy. So that is where it says force a copy or force present. I believe you're going to have the same kind of situation when you change that word to present. So what that does is it puts the slideshow in presentation mode and it's locked. So if I just want people to view my presentation, but I don't want them to have access to all the thumbnails of the slides where they can manipulate things, I can change the word edit in the URL to present, and it forces them to watch the slideshow. And, you know, they can go through there and watch that slideshow without making changes to it. So that is how you do that. I do have a few links on here as well. One of the cool things you can do with slideshows is what I call a choose your own adventure story. And those are books that I loved when I was younger. You would get to like page 3 and it would say, do you want to go with your friends into the woods or do you want to go back to school? And so based on your choice, it would say, if you choose go to the woods, go to the next page. If you choose go back to school, go to page 7. So you go to page 7, and each time when you made a different choice, you would get a different outcome. And so you have the link to a choose your own adventure slideshow. Alice Keeler gives you this, this idea, and there's a sample adventure that you can go through, and it's just really unique. And it's got an activity. So all it's really doing is that it is hyperlinking throughout the slides. And if you go to one slide, it'll take you to another slide. And the template is right here as well for a choose your own adventure. And so you can see it's just hyperlinking you to different options throughout that slideshow. So the ability to hyperlink within your slides, and for this to be a live document that is happening and can be linked to outside sources, to Drive documents, everything, I think makes Google Slides very unique. And there have been just teachers are doing all kind of really cool things with that choose your own adventure option. And while we're talking about these slides, one other unique feature, and I think that it is further down. One other unique feature under File is Page Setup. Now it's going to default to this widescreen presentation mode, but you can say custom. And what is unique, and I don't want to change that slide too, so let's do this. What is unique about page setup is that you can customize this, and I can make this like 8 by 10.5 and apply. Now it looks like a book. And so you can essentially create a collaborative book with your students in Google Slides. They're already familiar with the process of slides, but just by changing that look, I have this paper-sized slideshow. Students all contribute to it. And then when you're ready to download it, you can download it as a PDF, and it becomes this shareable, scrollable book with hyperlinks that your students can add information to. So anyway, that is a really cool feature that I saw one time on an EdTech website, and I was like, that is brilliant. So you can customize the size of the pages within the slideshow. It doesn't have to be like the regular presentation size. And so once you kind of figure that out and manipulate that, it is kind of a game changer. All right, so our task that we're going to do is fairly simple. Probably some of you can do in your sleep because you are Google Slides gurus. But we will work on this task really quickly, and we will move on then to Google Classroom, which is a favorite of everyone's. Whoops. Wow, I didn't mean to put the music on with it, but there we go. Okay, we are going to go ahead and move on to Google Classroom. And before we do that, I just wanted to kind of get an idea of how many people are currently using Google Classroom with your faculty, with your students, whatever. Give me either a thumbs up or a hand clap or put something in the chat. So I feel like that when it comes to classrooms, so many people are using it now, even if they weren't using it before remote learning, they are now just for the organization of things. Google Classroom really does the job of creating a consistent workflow. I'm seeing it used a lot administratively with colleagues, in order to collaborate on things and to get messages out there to people, to do book studies, to do whatever. So a lot of the things I'm going to be going over are going to be review, but I know that not everybody is an avid user of Google Classroom, so I definitely want to make sure that you're familiar with the kinds of things you're going to see on the level 1. So some of this will be review. I am going to log in to a different account. Now, we'll say there are a couple of ways to do this in Google Chrome. I have a lot of my accounts listed here just when I click on the icon, but another very beneficial way is to have your profiles loaded in the Chrome browser. And that way you end up not having your accounts fight against each other. And here's what I mean. If you have a personal Gmail and you're signed into that, and if you've ever tried to just go right here and click and choose a different account, sometimes Classroom will fight against it, or you'll open up something and you think it's in your school account, it's in your personal account. So even though this is a quick and convenient way to swap accounts if you have more than one, up here where you can sign into your Chrome browser, and this is for Chrome, and by signing in, it allows me to have all of my extensions and everything loaded. I can do manage your Google account, and I can go in and I can add different people. Okay, so here I can do add, and I can choose an icon and add a different person, and it loads their profile completely so that anytime I'm using that account with the Google tools, they don't fight against each other. So just an FYI, you can do that. I am going to log in to this domain account, which hopefully will look like yours. And then I'm going to go to Google Classroom. So I have, and notice it bumped me back to my old account. So I'm gonna try to force it, there we go, to the new account. So, so this is Google Classroom, and like I said, I know lots of you are already using this, but I do have kind of a test class here. So I'm going to click on that. I think I have my children loaded as students. So if I am brand new to this, and I am going to be creating a new class, I'm going to use that plus sign up here at the top and create a class. If I'm going to join a class or have my students join a class, I'm going to use the join class. When I click create, I'm going to give the class a name, and it will create something on my dashboard like I have already. So trying to move my pictures over. There we go. So once I get here to my class, I can see my class code. Now, Google Classroom has gone through some transitions. I love the fact that the class code is right there in the banner. It's very easy to see. I can either copy that class code and share it with my students, or I can click on that square and it makes it much larger. And if that's not enough, I can click and make it fill the whole screen. I find that when we are in person, this is a much easier way to have all of your students join your class in person. That way you can deal with any issues. I have had some teachers tell me that they've had isolated issues where a student would try the join code over and over and could not join the class. And I don't know if any of you have experienced that. From what I can tell, it may be an issue with the admin panel, how that student was imported into the system. Sometimes that can affect it. Sometimes it has to do with the fact that they're trying to join and they are logged into a personal account if they're on their own device. So a lot of different possibilities there, but the join with a code is the simplest way for your students to join your class. The other option up here on the People tab is that you can click on this little invite students and type their email in. It will send them an email invitation. So a couple of different ways that you can add your students. It is going to default to this stream page. The stream page is basically where you can make announcements for your students. You simply click there where it says share something and you can start typing. On this, it gives you the option to choose what classes you send it out to. Super helpful when you have multiple classes. You can check as many or as few classes as you want. And you can also send out an announcement to one specific student or a group of students as long as they're a part of that domain or that class. So I could put an announcement, welcome to the class, and post. And so once that is there, students can respond to it, or however I have my settings. So when I am communicating with students, I can do so there with announcements. The next, well, before I go into the next tab, just a couple other things on this main page. You do have an option to change the theme of that picture at the top. So if I wanted to, I can choose one of the themes that Google has already there, or I can upload a photo, which is kind of nice because when I upload a photo, it can be customized. So here I can add something fancy from a Google slide that I created, or a picture of my class, or even my school's mascot. Also here I have the little, anytime you see this gear in Google, it's going to give you more options. So when I click that, it lets me rename my class, address some of these general settings. And I always tell my folks that I'm training on this, go to settings before you invite students so that you can change some of these settings. The first one is on the stream page. Do you want your students to be able to comment, post, or neither? And so I don't care what age students you're working with, most of us are going to choose only the teacher can post and comment to begin the year. And as you give students more responsibility, you can give them the option to comment. Commenting is a great collaboration. They do need to learn how to deal with a discussion board format, and so you can give them that option. You can turn this on and off at will as well. So if you did want to leave that open for a time, you could. And then, do I want the classwork, so assignments that I add, do I want a notification on the stream page? This is a preference. Sometimes because that stream page is the landing page for students, you want them to see a notification that says an assignment has been added called map skills. Now, they can click on it, will take them directly to the assignment. Some people feel like the stream page gets to be super noisy, and if they're going to make announcements, they want those announcements to be on that page only. And you want to force students to go to the classwork page. If that's the case, you want to hide those notifications. You can go full everything on that page, and then they would see the assignment with attachment details, everything. So you have a choice on that stream page what you want your students to see. I don't usually give them an option to see deleted items. Guardian summaries, and it is important that you click see example if you want to add student emails to your class. keep in mind you're not making them a student in the class where they would have access to assignments, attachments, everything. You can add them as a guardian. The guardians will receive a summary email telling different assignments that you have added. Now, I don't know if any of you have had positive experience with this, but I've had a few teachers give me negative experience with this, is that once that email goes home to parents and it says that here are some assignments that were added this week, the parents immediately want to see the whole assignment, attachments and everything, or they start inundating the teacher with questions. What is this map skills quiz? And so it's a catch-22 because they can't really, unless they have their students log in, go in and see all the details of that assignment. So it's mainly just what it says. It's a summary, so you can click and see an example of what they would see. Now, this is new, or at least new to me, the ability to have a Meet that goes with your Google Classroom. And if you've noticed over the past few weeks, Meet has shown up in your Gmail, personal, and in your Gmail for your domain. And so here is just some information on using Google Meet in the classroom. So because I'm not familiar with it, and I don't think it's going to be on the level 1 test because it is so new, you can check that out. And this is all under settings. Now, as you go down further, there is the grading. I have some people that use Google Classroom mainly just as a repository for content for their students. They do not use the grading feature. Their defense is, I don't want to grade it here, get the grade, and then have to copy that grade over into iKnow. I get that. But I will say that the ability for students to get a real immediate grade, a more immediate grade is nice, is a nice feature here. So you have some options here on grade calculation. If you don't want them to have like an overall grade, because you're in a blended classroom, you're going to be doing some paper assignments, you're going to be doing some assignments in Google Classroom, and you don't want them to be confused that if they had an overall grade in Classroom, that is their actual grade. You may want to say no overall grade. But you have the choice of doing total points weighted by category, essentially having a gradebook attached here. So you have that option. You still have the option to grade, even if you have no overall grade. And then here you can add some categories as well for grading. So I will be interested to know as we move to Powerschool, and this is a whole other conversation, but as we move to Powerschool, who is partnered with Schoology as a product that they offer. Be interested to see if people start using Schoology. It is going to be offered for free. It is going to roll out this fall. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be going through training next month on Schoology. But I don't know that we'll sufficiently be able to train schools. So I feel like Google Classroom will be around. A lot of schools will not leave it, but there may be some people that transition to Schoology. What I am hoping for, and this is something we're still trying to figure out, is that the ability to export any grades from Google Classroom and import them into the Powerschool Gradebook. I'm hoping to give you a positive answer that is something that you can do. So that is something that I think we're all kind of crossing our fingers as we venture into that new platform. But don't get me wrong, Powerschool itself, the school information system and the gradebook that goes with it will not be rolled in this fall or spring. But Schoology, their learning management system, their kind of Google Classroom, will be available to teachers for them to use. I think it'll be good for people to kind of kick the tires and see how that works. And so that will be available this year, I think, in response to the need for a remote learning platform if schools don't have Google Classroom or something like that. All right, so I've said a whole lot. If you make any changes here, be sure that you hit the save button. But that is all under your settings, which can be found here on this front page. All right, so moving on to the next tab across the top is classwork. This is where you're going to be doing most of your work on the level 1 exam. Notice that that Meet button is right up there on the classwork page. That is new. You have access to Google Calendar. A calendar is created for you anytime you create a new class. And if you're a big Google Calendar user, that may get a little annoying, but you will have a new Google Calendar show up in your list of calendars. You can always hide it if you're not utilizing it, but a lot of teachers utilize that. As you put assignments, it populates that calendar for students. So we're going to talk about creating an assignment. So I'm going to click Create. And notice I have a list of options. Now, you can ignore where it says Kami assignment. Kami is one of my favorite tools. I use it a lot, but I use the free version. There is a paid version. Some school districts pay for it. If I was in the classroom, it might be something I would use my donation money for. Kami is a tool that lets you annotate onto a PDF without you having to, it's fairly seamless. I will just say that. It allows students to add text boxes, draw, add equations, lots of things. So if you're connected with Kami, like I have this Kami extension up here, it is going to grab and allow me to make a Kami assignment. But if I'm not using the paid version, it's not going to work for me or for my students. So it's listed there, but I'm not using it. Some of you might be able to elaborate if your school system or if you are using Kami or if you pay for Kami. But we're going to look just basically at assignment first. And it's going to give you some tips here because this is a new class I haven't done any assignments with yet. But I can give it a title, so I'm going to call this Map Skills. I can give instructions here. Alice Keeler, who's a big Google guru, says she doesn't bother putting instructions here because students don't read them. So I think that's an interesting tip. Her suggestion is that the first page of any document that you attach should be your instructions because they are going to open that document. Or if you're doing a Google slideshow, the first slide should be your instructions. So that is an interesting thought there. So you can add instructions here if you want to. Over on this side, it's going to give you some options. What classes will you be sending this assignment to? If it's multiple classes, you can check all those classes. Which students are you going to be sending this to? So if I have all of these students, and I'm going to actually uncheck my sweet friends who tested this class out for me. If I'm going to be sending it to multiple students, then I am going to choose the students I'm going to send it to. I can change my point value or it can be ungraded. So let's say this is something that I just want students to acknowledge that they read. So I can attach something here, say it's ungraded, but that they still have to turn it in to acknowledge that they've read it. This is great for forms that you want them to read and acknowledge, lab rules, things like that. So, but then I can make this like 25 points. I don't have to give it a due date, but I can. So I can choose a due date. It's going to be due tomorrow. I can choose a time. I always give the example when I taught high school, I would have students that say, when is this paper due? And I would say by the end of the day on Friday. As the cheerleading sponsor, I'd be at the ball game on Friday night and literally would have students bring me a paper at the ball game because I said end of the day. So you can put a time here. And if you put a time like 3 o'clock p.m., it will let them turn it in after 3 o'clock, but you will know, because it's going to timestamp everything, you will know that they turned it in late. So you can have that time there. When it comes to topics, think about topics as categories. And so you can create a topic right here. I could call this daily activities. And that is the topic, the category that will go under. This is beneficial if you want to filter your classwork and look at just the daily activities, just the tests or whatever. And you have the ability to add a rubric. So where we worked with sheets, and I told you that there were some really cool add-ons with sheets. There are some rubric maker add-ons and sheets. So you could do a rubric in Google Sheets and import it here and attach it to this assignment. Or you could hit create rubric and it's going to open up this rubric maker for you. I have not used this before, so this is actually my first time using this one. And so I can give the criterion a title. This is going to be content. You know, must have legit content. We'll just go with that. How many points is that going to be worth? I'm going to say it's going to be worth 5 points. And I can give that kind of a title. 5 points is going to be advanced. Okay. 4 points is going to be novice. And then 3 points is going to be beginner. I mean, you can add whatever you want, and you can add more criterion and save. And so now you have that rubric that is attached to it. I have not used Originality Reports. And so if somebody has an idea on that one, let's see, looks like it is sort of plagiarism detector. I have not tried this yet. So if anybody has some feedback or ideas on how that works, or if it's worked well for you, let me know. So that is a fairly new feature for me. Once I'm done with all of that, then do I have something to attach to this? So I can attach anything from my Google Drive here that I want to attach, or I can attach a document to this for my students. So let's say I'm going to attach something from Google Drive, and I'm going to, let's say we'll attach this slideshow. And when I attach something, this is the very, very important tip that all of you are probably familiar with. This is a slideshow. I just want them to view the slideshow, so this is fine. If I say students can edit, that means chaos. Everybody edits. Everybody goes in there and makes changes. That is good if you're planning on a collaborative slideshow where everybody's assigned a certain slide, but it's difficult, so you have to do some training there. A lot of times it's make a copy for each student. So if I am wanting them to take this base slideshow and then make changes, I can say make a copy. Make a copy is typically what you do with documents and different things that you want students to have the ability to change. So I'm going to leave it as students view file. And then I'm going to click create is another option. Let's say that I want to just quickly create a document that they are going to use. So it's going to open up Word for me, Docs for me. I can call this Map Skills Notes. Okay, and once I have given it a title, added anything to that I want, I can go here and see that it is attached to the classwork. Not really sure why it's still called Untitled Document, but it is. And I'm going to say make a copy for each student. And I am going to assign. So now I have the option to assign this to them immediately, or I have the option to save the draft because I'm not done, or schedule. I love the schedule feature because when I am working in the wee hours in my pajamas, like I am sometimes, if I hit assign, it will send an email notification to all of my students at 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't do that. Don't do that to your students. I accidentally did that when I first started with Google Classroom using it for PD, and people wondered why they were getting emails in the middle of the night. So you can schedule the assignment to pop into Google Classroom at 7:45 in the morning, and it looks like you worked really hard on everything, got up early in the morning, and assigned this. So you can schedule the assignment, or you can just click assign. So as it is assigning, oh, Heather gave us a tip on Originality Reports. You can only use a limited number of times unless you have a paid account. Interesting. So I'm going to try and see if any of my colleagues have experience with that Originality Report. So I do think that's interesting as an English teacher. I love that concept. So here's my classwork page. Here's my map skills assignment. Keep in mind, I'm looking at it from a teacher's perspective. And so when I click on it, it's going to show me how many people have turned it in, who is assigned this information. Even if I can see it's one student, I could click and see what students were assigned this. Notice it did fix my title once it created the assignment, so that's good. It's not still called Untitled. And if I want to view the assignment like, so I can see everybody's stuff, I can click View Assignment. this is going to show you a thumbnail of those attachments. This is something I love showing live when I have the opportunity with Classroom, and you guys have probably seen this. If I attach something that is a live document like a docs, slides, sheets, or whatever, if I create it and attach it, even if I put nothing in it, notice that was just a blank Word document. And if we were live, I would have assigned this to all of you. And I would see little thumbnails of all of your Google Docs. The beauty of this is that I can click here into Brandy Caldwell's Google document, and I can see currently if she's working. I love the ability to peek in on all of my students and see their progress. If I attach a Word document that's not a live Google Docs, I don't get this benefit. So keep in mind, even if you're going to have them start from scratch, you might ask them to use what's attached there. Notice that it is called Brandy Caldwell because that is, and this is my personal Gmail that it's attached to right now. That is the student, and this is what that student is doing. And I have my grading shell right here to the side. So this is a benefit to attaching something. Notice I don't see that slideshow I attached because that was a view only. This is something that I gave a copy to every student and they're allowed to edit. So I do think that that is a big benefit, is the ability to attach something that the students will work in. And when I go in as the teacher, I get to peek in on their progress there. All right, so that is creating an assignment, attaching things, adding a rubric, looking to see who has turned it in and who has not. And if I click here, it's going to take me back to that same page, allowing me to see who has turned things in. And the one thing I tell people, and you guys that are users of this, you know, once I assign something to people, they can work in it and then they turn it in or submit it to me. And then I have to return that to the student once I have it graded. So if I gave a grade there, then that return button would be active and I could return it to that student. Notice that rubric, it lets me add some information there to the rubric right here on the student's page. So there is the rubric feature. All right, so back here on the create page, if I click create again, I can create not just a regular assignment, but a quiz assignment. Got it. All right, so what it does when I choose quiz assignment is it automatically generates a blank quiz for me. Now, if I've already created a quiz in Drive, I can just use assignment and attach the quiz I already have. So I don't have to do quiz assignment because it's going to generate a blank quiz for me. Once it generates this blank quiz, I need to click on it and go in and manipulate this quiz. Now, because it is a quiz assignment, it automatically gave me those quiz features. And it has to go into settings and tell it make it a quiz because it knows it is going to be a quiz. So I can go in and create my quiz, give it a title and everything, and it's automatically attached. Over here, same kind of thing. I get to choose who I want this to go to. I get to decide how many points it's worth. Is there a due date? Is there a rubric attached? Notice it says Classroom can import grades for assignments. And so that basically means when they finish their quiz, that grade is automatically put in Google Classroom. So that is real benefit to a quiz assignment versus just attaching a quiz that I've already made. So what you might want to do is with this quiz assignment feature, if you like all of this and you like this grade importing, make your quiz here. Save it as a draft because I'm not ready for it to go live. I'm just going in and creating my vocabulary quizzes for the year. But I want them to be set up as quiz assignments. Save them as a draft. Now it's going to be over here under, I didn't give it a topic. So it's under, there's no topic, but it's gray and it says draft. And right there, I can edit it and go in and edit it and assign it and make it go live or schedule it to go live at a different date. Now, because I did not give this a topic, and the topic is daily activities. Notice I have a topic called daily activities. If I want quiz to be to go under daily activities, I don't think it'll work because it is a draft. So I'm going to go in and make it an actual assignment. I am able to drag this. I'm supposed to be able to drag this into my other topics. Strange. Not really sure why I'm not able to drag this. This was a feature that was added not too long ago, was the ability to drag assignments. Any of my users of Google Classroom know why this would not be draggable. That was a feature that I really liked that they had added, was that you could drag assignments. Oh, okay. So it looks like I can drag the assignments under the topic. I just can't drag it to a topic. So there you go. So you can change the order of things there within the topic. The benefit to that is students are sometimes only going to look at the very first thing. But if you don't change the order of them, it's just going to list it chronologically. So we've added assignments. We've added quiz assignments. If we're adding a question, this could be something that you're going to allow your students to respond to. It can be short answer, it could be multiple choice, so it could be a survey or a poll for your students. I'm going to leave it as short answer. And I'm going to just assign it to me. It is going to be ungraded. Notice that I don't have to have the commenting feature turned on in settings for students to be able to reply to each other. If I don't want them to reply to each other, but only reply to the question, I can uncheck that. But it is beneficial for them to learn how to discuss, but sometimes the way they discuss is the way they react on social media. They're like, you're stupid, roll tide, war eagle, instead of them actually responding to each other. When I go to add, notice that I can put a video here. So let's say that I wanted to put a video on candy in America. And so trying American candy, I'm a little nervous about what that might be. But anyway, so this candy store has 160 drawers of bulk candy. That should be fun. So obviously I would review this video before I attached it, but I can attach it and then ask the question. Okay, so if I click on that, I can see who has answered the question and who has not. Now, clicking back on the stream page, notice I am giving condensed versions of assignments that have been posted on that stream page. So my students aren't going to see the announcement, welcome to the class, right away, because it's been bumped down by those notifications. The benefit to having the notifications is they see it right away, they can click on it, and it takes them to that question or to that assignment. So remember, that is a choice that you have up there in settings. So other options, you can add a material post, which is just what it sounds like. No grading, no due date. You can just add a topic and who's going to get this information. This is great for materials lists. This might be good for a series of websites or videos you want them to watch for a particular project. So no due date, no assignment that goes with that. And then reuse post. This is fabulous. When I go to reuse post, I can go to a class that I have used and I can choose one of these assignments. And notice I have the option create new copies of all attachments. So if there is an attachment that goes with it, it will make new copies of that attachment. I'm going to say reuse, It's going to open up the editing panel for that particular post. And notice I reused a post from a different class. And so now I have something that I've used before. I can go in and make changes to my quiz if I need to. Notice there is a topic. It pulled the topic from the other class. It's going to start me a new topic. And I can assign it to just the one student and assign. So that is much easier. Notice it created my new topic down here, much easier than reinventing the wheel. So you've got that option to create and reuse a post. And then this is where you can create all of your topics. So if I wanted a topic called materials, I could add that topic too. And notice there is nothing in that particular topic. And now it is letting me drag my assignment, which it wouldn't let me do it a little while ago. I love technology. So anyway, I can drag things from one topic to another. And if I want to, I can also drag that entire topic down. Now, I have had some teachers say that they use topics for weeks. So their first topic would be week 1, and sometimes they put the dates, week 2, week 3. So as they add information, those topics are bumped. Some teachers like to rearrange them a certain way. Anybody want to unmute your mic or tell me how or if you are using the topics feature in classwork?
Hello, Brandy. This is Rosalyn Evans.
Yeah.
I use topics in my Google Classroom to separate for the different, basically topics in the class. So I have like the class 411 so that they can go and get like the expectations, the syllabus, any housekeeping orders, our plan of action for the 18-week breakdown so that they can have it and the parents can have it also. I also, since I teach credentialing, I have the Microsoft there, the G-Matrix dates, when they're doing their test out. And then of course with my career prep class, I do it for like financial literacy, career exploration, and then their college path. So that way they can go and they can, everything is, I don't want to say dump, but everything is by the section. And I also do my lesson plans. Well, I call them BDAs, before, during, and afters.
Yes.
And I have a BDA, so if a kid is out, they have their BDAs for the whole semester, and it lists the days, and they can just go back through that day and see what was done that day. So on Sunday, I put what we're going to do for the week, so that way it minimizes for my athletes and kids that are just involved, and nobody's out the loop. And it's also a great accountability for my administrators, because they can go through district-wise and look on our Google Classrooms to see what we've posted.
Yes. And I love she called it classroom 411 or something. You know, that's all that vital information. And the reason why you want to have topics that are user-friendly is because I can click on the topic and filter. And it doesn't seem like a big deal now, but as you get through the year and you have so much here on this classwork page, you want things to be easy to find. I noticed that Leah says separating current assignments from past assignments. And someone else said assignments by the week. So I'm thinking as an English teacher, I might have a literature assignment, a grammar assignment, vocabulary, you know, I would kind of separate it like that. Self-contained teachers, often it will be math, reading, you know, so I think there's a lot of different topic opportunities there. So I did want to mention the ability to make private comments. That is one thing that is on the test, is giving a private comment to a student. Notice when I am just on my page of classwork, I can add a class comment. This is something everybody will see associated to that particular assignment. So when I go in to the assignment itself and I am looking at one particular student, I click on that student. Notice I can add a private comment. You know, please turn this in. And so once I do that, and I click the little airplane, it is going to send that to that student, and they can also comment back. So it opens a dialogue with just that student. And I've noticed that students can use this to communicate with their teacher where they normally might not communicate with the teacher. So making sure they understand about the private comments and where you can put those private comments in is very important. All right, so we have covered a ton of information here on Google Classroom. Like I said, I know you guys are probably gurus in Google Classroom at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and have us move on to the task to kind of wrap things up for today. And we will get started on this. And if you have any questions, you can add those in the chat.
Hey, Brandy, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Hey, I know in the past I've had issues with people using the class code for my classrooms because mine's on a school account, and sometimes most of the time it won't let people actually join my class unless they have the same at chiltonboe.com email address that I have. So when I did my classroom with my students, I had to email it to all of their school accounts. Their parents couldn't just do it from they couldn't do it from any other email. It had to be one of the chiltonboe.com email addresses. So that's going to affect me doing this, like being able to push it out to everybody in Zoom, because you said you wanted us to put the code in Zoom. Nobody's going to be able to see mine.
Oh yeah, I understand. That is true in certain school districts, and we have found this. We have a domain called atim.us, and we are going to be sending something out to districts asking them to whitelist that domain. But it may be the case that your district only allows your school domain to join your school domain. And the same will be true for, for a lot of other folks. So if your district has not allowed that, then that is understandable. Mainly, it's just having you guys go through this process. And I think putting the class code in the chat box is more of a formality, because it's likely that I wouldn't be able to join your class to see what you're doing. So yeah, that's a good point. And this is something we're running into from a training perspective. A lot of times I like to create a Google Classroom to train teachers. That's the reason why we are trying to reach out to our school districts and have them whitelist our domain, because some school districts have it set so that even if I have my domain showing that anybody can join it, as long as they have a Google email, if your district restricts you from joining other domains, then that runs into an obstacle as well. So, so yeah, that is it's a good security measure for Google Classroom, but it can also hinder people from joining your class.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was an issue, and I started my Google Classroom the weekend of after the 13th, because that's when I assumed we were going to start doing e-learning. And I sent, I was really excited because I created a classroom, and I, pushed out the code to all my parents and got back, multiple emails saying that they couldn't join and that the code didn't work. And it worked for me, I had no way to test it. And so I had to go in and just basically give all the parents access to the student email addresses because they hadn't really used them.
Yes.
So I had to teach them how to use their email addresses and how to get it. And
I'm going to guess that your story is very similar. I know the district that my students are in, they all have email addresses, but they rarely use them. So then it was, hey, you've got to use your email address for everything because it's all locked into that. Became kind of a real teaching moment for a lot of folks on utilizing that login and those email addresses. But yeah, that is the dilemma with Classroom. You can add guardians for summaries of things, but the parents can't really join the classroom. They can have their students login information. Technically, it's supposed to be given to them from the students because of privacy issues, but most teachers, especially when you're dealing with younger kids, just say, here it is, here's the information. You can log in as the student to see what they're doing. But yeah, that's it. Like I said, it's a security feature and it's a good thing, but it also kind of can be an obstacle. As people are finishing up this task, and like I said, the sharing of your class code is more of a formality just to kind of get you to share that. It's very possible that I wouldn't be able to join your class to see what you've done, but I know several of you said that you have experience with Google Classroom. So what you've done here is very simple, simplistic. Note that if you create a classroom and you follow these steps to do this task, you can easily delete that classroom. So if you don't want it, junking up your class dashboard, I understand that. And I know it's at the 11 o'clock mark. So just wanted to tell you that tomorrow is going to feel fast and furious because we're covering a lot of, they're not small topics, but there are a lot of topics like Google, Gmail and calendar and groups and contacts and a lot of things. And hopefully we'll be able to cover the things you're going to see on the exam. And so I did want to make sure that you knew that we're going to be kind of covering things fast and furiously tomorrow. I did mention to you that I changed the testing slide so that it has the old site and the new site. If you are looking to possibly take your test even as soon as next week, this has the information that you need to register for that. And hopefully the stuff that went over today, some of that would be review, but hopefully there was something that, that you learned on that with Classroom and with slides. So we do have units 5 through 8 if you are trying to kind of get that information in each day. Be sure that you look over those. If you're doing those, I hope that you're taking note of some of the practice questions and things through that. And I think that the link I've given you to the Teacher Training Center is to the old one. Yes, it's to the old one. They have a new one, and they'll there's usually going to be something that says new unit, a new site here, but it's going to have the same information for you on both of those sites, I believe. So all right, I'm going to kind of wrap everything up, and we will come back tomorrow with day 4. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. I'll be here for just a minute or so if anybody has any questions. But other than that, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you guys for staying.
Hey, Brandy, I had a question. Yesterday, when you were going over Google Sheets, you talked about the little magic square in the corner and how you could use it to kind of drag and change the size of the cells. When I do mine, the only thing it does is change the cells that are frozen. Like if I drag it over, it just freezes the cells. It doesn't actually change the size of my slides. I wonder, do you have any idea, like maybe I'm doing something wrong? Or